Welcome to Bold and Brash. My name is Peter Anthony. I'm super excited. Today we have Jeff Bitton. And let me tell you something. I've been following this cat for years. What he's doing in the industry is crushing it. You need to know. But what we're going to talk about today is how do you transition? How do you take those new steps? How do you make things become new habits? How do you create impact for and excitement for yourself as we move through and actually capture our dreams? So Jeff Bitton, man, it's great to see you, brother. Thank you for making it down. I know we tried to get together a couple of weeks ago.
That was my bad.
No, it was our bad because we thought that we wanted you in the studio, and so many people are so used to doing the whole Zoom thing that they're saying, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it, right? And it's like, oh no, we want you here, we want live.
I think they're better when they're in person. I just, because I've got so many appointments throughout the day, I just expect everything to be on Zoom.
Yeah, and us too, and that's why that's how we're shooting it. So today I wanted to really ask you a bunch of questions. Pitch59, it's killing it. It's an app. The description of the app is in our description, so you can just click the link, learn more about it. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to have it. We have it. It's been hooking up entrepreneurs. I think that's super cool, what you're doing as a company and a brand. But you as a man have made some serious transitions, and we were talking about it before the cameras started rolling. I want to learn more about how you went from sales to tech and owning a tech company. You've been doing this for 5 years now.
Yeah.
I know offers are starting to roll in because you've passed the proof of concept. And now it's like, oh my goodness, like, well, what are you gonna do next? And do you have it in you? And how did you get here? And it's cool. Like when the money starts to flow, it always gets cool. When the money's not flowing, how do you keep it together? And I was sharing with a really good client. I said, what happens is all the stuff that we have going on, the polarities and the conflicts, they start to grow and grow and grow. And stress comes because you're trying to keep it together. The stress isn't from the things that are going on. The stress is trying to keep everything together, trying to keep your family together, your health together, your business together, your employees together, your vendors together, your customers together, your commitment to your spirituality, and so are you staying active in your faith, or how do you get your kids together? Like, there's a lot to keep together. So by trying to pressure all that in, that's how we create stress for ourselves. So I want to learn a little about how you made the transition from where you were to tech, what that looked like, the stories that you're not telling anybody. If it appeared on another podcast, well, then don't tell me.
You want the nitty gritty stuff.
I want the stuff that is not politically correct.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be successful. I worked my butt off, and I won't apologize for my success.
Yeah.
Even it's not the greatest success in the world. I'm not the richest guy in the world, but I earned it.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for me to apologize for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know that, your background. I've known you for a couple of years. Share with me, how did you go from what you did to tech?
Yeah. So my story starts in Idaho. I grew up in a little town in southeast Idaho, 5th of 8 kids. I have 4 older brothers, and it was the traditional big family where we beat each other up. We fought a lot. We lived in a small town, and I grew up working in farm fields, just moving irrigation pipe and occasionally bucking hay and doing that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And then I went to college and went and served a mission for my church in Peru, came back, and during the summers I went down to California and sold pest control for 4 years and did well at that. And
how did you like Peru? Because I'm Peruvian. I'm from Lima.
Are you really?
Yeah.
How have we not talked about this before?
I know, man. I have 2 brothers still there.
Are you serious?
Yeah. My son just asked me, he said for his graduation, he wants me to take him to Machu Picchu.
Okay, I love Peru. I haven't been back since my mission, but I was in Lima for 9 months, and then in Huancayo and Huánuco and Cerro de Pasco and other areas up there. And so I know Peru quite well. Yeah,
it's rural, man.
It's way up there in the Andes. Yeah, it's way up high.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so my my story kind of starts with this door-to-door sales, because when I was doing door-to-door sales, I learned like people would oftentimes buy my services, not necessarily even because they wanted to change pest control services or because they needed a pest control service at that moment, but because they liked me. And they're like, yeah, well, I mean, if I'm going to get one, might as well get it with somebody that I like, right?
Right.
So I learned something about the emotional connection that can happen when I'm talking to somebody in person, with the verbal, nonverbal, metaverbal communication that happens. And then I went back up to school in Rexburg, Idaho, and I started a little carpet cleaning company. At this time, I was married and I had my first child. And
so you went from selling pest control, knocking on doors, and what you're sharing is that people did business with you, even if they didn't need the business, they did business with you because they liked you.
Yeah, I mean, in general, people needed the service. But it was like, when it came down to us versus Terminex or Orkin or any other company, like I represented a small company and nobody had ever really heard of it. But people hire people that they know, like, and trust, right? And when I'm on their doorstep, it's easy for them to get to know, like, and trust me, because I'm a really open book. Like, you can ask me anything and I'll answer it.
Yeah.
And I try to tell, plus I'm from small town Southeast Idaho, so people think that I'm a redneck, which is accurate, but I'm also humble and I'm a hard worker. And so
when you knock on a door, tell me about so I knock on a door.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Somebody opens the door. What do you do?
I just say, hey, my name is Jeff. I'm the bug guy. And honestly, typically when you're at the door right there, I can do training for a lot of door-to-door sales reps too, because there's a lot of things that they do wrong. One of the first things that I would do is I would actually turn like this, and I would be shoulder to shoulder with you almost, and then we'd talk about your problem together with your yard. And there's a psychology behind that I didn't know back then, but it feels like I'm on your team when I'm shoulder to shoulder with you. If I'm standing here in front of you like this,
you're an adversary.
I'm an adversary. And so I'm against you.
Yeah.
And so when I'm shoulder to shoulder with you and I'm talking about your yard and I'm like, so a lot of people are seeing black widows around here. Is that what you're seeing too? They'd say, no, I don't see many black widows. We do have ants. I'm like, okay, are they coming in through your kitchen, your sinks, your bathrooms? Where are they coming in through?
So your initial, and this translates to your current tech company, how you're training people. Your initial 30 seconds is
humanize.
You introduce yourself and move from the adversarial to the
team. We're on the same team.
Oh, I love that, man. Smart.
The other thing about it is, like, we coach people all the time on their elevator pitches now. First 5 or 10 seconds become human and relatable. Because the first thing, if I meet you out on the street somewhere, instantly I'm trying to figure out if there's an emotional connection that can happen if we're on the same team. So if I say, Peter, where are you from? What I'm really saying is, okay, are you from somewhere that I can relate with, that I've been, that I can experience, that I know kind of a little bit more about you? And so human beings are always trying to figure out the first interaction, can I relate with you? And if I can relate with you, that'll help me build a foundation of trust. And so with the first 5 to 10 seconds, we tell you humanize and become relatable. And then after that, then you can move into something that's more unique and different and start empathizing with their pain points and their frustrations. So like, that's when I'd kind of move in and say, okay, so what are you seeing most? Are you seeing mostly black widows, ants, spiders, cockroaches? What are you dealing with?
What scary stuff?
What's the biggest? Yeah, and then I'm going to empathize with that and say, okay, are they coming in through here? And do they like, are they biting your kids? Or what's your situation?
Oh, wow. Smart.
And then I can target my resolution to exactly their biggest pain points and frustrations that they're dealing with.
I love that. So you had a really, over 4 years, how many doors do you think you knocked on?
It was at least 100 to 150 a day, sometimes a couple hundred, depending if people weren't home.
So let's take 150, 5 days a week, 750 a week. That's 30.
And I do it for 4 months. I only did it for 4 months each summer. So yeah, it's thousands and thousands of doors. I don't know.
Thousands of times. Yeah. You know, here's the interesting part, and everybody will tell you, as you're building, you got to get in the reps.
Yeah.
You know, the people ask me all the time, how come you're so good at conversation?
It's practice.
I owned hair salons. We had 100 hairstylists and employees. We'd have 200-300 people a day.
And you talk to every single one of them the entire time. Yeah.
And I had millions of conversations, literally millions of conversations over 25 years. So the more you develop, the more you practice that skill set. Now the antithesis, as I'm sure you're seeing in your trainings, if you practice the wrong thing, you're just gonna
Develop bad habits.
you're gonna keep that habit's gonna keep you here.
Yeah.
No matter what you do. I
Yep.
see it in my chess game. There's a reason that I can't get past 14 to 1600, and
we're in the same ballpark there.
Right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, and then I was like, man, I saw the blunder and I did it anyway. It's like I knew it. I've done this move 50 times and I still did it.
I know.
Habitualized to make that move, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how people are hardwired.
Yeah.
When you served your mission, you served it in Spanish?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. That's so cool. And again, you're putting in the reps.
Yeah.
You're learning to humanize yourself. Yeah. You're learning to create alignment and to come together. It's a similar experience. Right? You mean when we're sharing. I happen to do two things, and I want to get back to your carpet story, which I'm responding to. I was a Jehovah's Witness growing up.
Yeah.
No, don't say anything, but that's what, knocking on doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
We called it pioneering, not missions.
Yeah.
So I pioneered for years.
Yeah.
Every summer and, 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 weekends during school, on the first 2 semesters and on the second 2 semesters. So probably about 10 to 12 weeks a year I pioneer for about 8 years. Like that's a crazy.
That's legit. It's tough.
Knocking on doors. And, we never heard of the LDS Church.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't talked a lot about New York.
Yeah.
Right? Jehovah's Witnesses were.
Yeah.
we were the Christian,
you guys were the door knockers.
knockers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's kick them. Right? So all the jokes, all the late night TV, we're talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, not LDS. Right?
Everywhere else in the world, it's always Mormons that they're making fun of. But
right.
That's cool.
So it's what was interesting. And that set me up for selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door.
Yeah.
Crazy. Tell me about your vacuum cleaning experience.
So I actually started a carpet cleaning service. And I went and sold carpet cleaning services door to door. So I would go and talk to people and say, yeah, my name is Jeff. I've got a new carpet cleaning company. I'd love to show you how it works. But I'm wondering if you guys have 1 or 2 rooms that you'd like to have cleaned. And this is the type of cleaning that we do. It's a rotary extraction cleaning. It's different than what you've probably experienced. And anyway, and then I'd schedule appointments, and then I'd go jump in the van the next day and go clean those homes or apartments or whatever. Then keep knocking doors, and little by little, my clientele started to grow, and so that's how I did it. So I never sold vacuum cleaners, but I sold carpet cleaning services.
Carpet cleaning, yeah. It's a similar thing, right? Yeah. Well, it's cleaning carpets, which are uninteresting.
Yeah.
It's extracting dirt. It's like, it's making
cat pee and dog poop. That's what it was.
Oh man, and we were bed bugs and mites.
Yeah.
Pull them. Let me show you something. You get to pull the sheets off, right? And and then you show them all this dead skin, and they're like, "Oh my God, I have to have 2." Right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting, but again, I want to tie that to you became an expert in aligning yourself with the human condition.
Yeah, I think more than anything, I think people just, that emotional connection, as the world gets more and more fake and synthetic and AI, like human beings, we rely on that emotional connection with each other. And we need that in order to build up foundations of trust, because now you can clearly see every time you get an email that's written by AI, it's like, hey, Peter, and it knows about you and it says things, but it doesn't connect. It doesn't ever feel genuine because it's not genuine. It's robotic still. Yeah. And I just think like there's so much in the human condition. We as human beings are experts at identifying and recognizing people and like the good in them, sometimes the bad in them, and being able to relate with those things that are good about them and building those foundations of trust. And we need that for all different types of relationships. Even in business.
You've mentioned the word trust about 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Someone can fact check me, but you've said the word trust.
Yeah.
So this is a strong part of what you do now.
100%. It's all about the foundation of trust.
And now share with me, you've got the carpet cleaning business. Everybody can see clearly you're well spoken. You understand the science and the art of sales, emotion, people. You love people. You must have built a pretty substantial company.
So, I mean, I was in Southeast Idaho. I don't know how substantial it could be because it's a limited population with LDS church members that are pretty tight financially. Like they don't spend money like other places. So we built up a company and we kept growing it for 9 years. And then my brother asked me if I'd be interested in buying out his cleaning company in Fresno, California. And he had a company that had 4 or 5 trucks down there. And he had started the year after I started mine. And so I said, yeah, let's look at the numbers. And we made the numbers work. And I ended up buying out his company. Put $30,000 down on it, and then after the first year, I'd made $80,000 in profit from that company, and I'm like, "This is the model. Let's do this." So I said, "Aaron, why don't you partner up with me and let's go buy out cleaning and restoration companies, bring them into kind of our central cleaning organization, and then let's just start growing a cleaning empire." And so we did. We bought out another cleaning and restoration company in Houston, Texas, right after Hurricane Harvey, and that one we lost about $200,000 the first year because of changes that happened in the restoration industry down there. And that's where I tell people I pulled out the little hair that I still had left in my head, trying to stop the bleeding. And it was in December of 2018, that first year that we'd purchased that company. That in January that year, and by the end of that year, it was sucking us dry and really taking its toll on my other companies. And I'm like, this is terrible. I hate this. I'm spending lots of money on all the major marketing platforms, trying to get my business out there. And
no one's ever done that, right?
Nobody's ever done that. Yeah.
Money. I refer to marketing as I think the marketing icon should be a big garbage can. Because that's how it feels.
It's like you're like, test this, and you're just dishing out dollars everywhere, just seeing what lands.
Throwing it away.
Yeah,
it's just like it's going right in the garbage, and then you want to kick the can down the road a little. Yep. So you stop spending money on marketing, and everybody says don't ever stop, but you shouldn't. But so it's interesting.
It's one of those things that and I was spending money on like Yelp and Home Advisor and Thumbtack and Angie's List and
all
Google.
The things you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Because that's what they say you're supposed to do. Yelp and Advisor and Angie's List. And of course, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Well, and what's frustrating about it as a small business owner is you get to see all the deceptive lead practices that they have. Especially I won't name them on here, but there's a couple of online platforms that are terrible, that will sell the same lead multiple times over. You'll call the client, and then because you called the client, you have to pay the fee, even though they already got contracted 5 calls ago, and then they'll sell that same lead over again. And there's a lot of manipulative.
Yeah. So they're just so you guys know, there are companies that will sell the same lead 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, or 12 times.
And they charge all the vendors the same as if it was a first lead.
Yep. And so because. And I tell everybody too, I said, listen, it's very difficult to market with a small budget.
Here's why. It's terribly
Facebook
difficult.
Already knows who the buyers are.
Yeah.
They have enough data science that they know, Google knows, they know exactly. I can give your offer to somebody who's actually willing to buy right now.
Yeah.
And I know who it is. But instead, what I feel, and again, this is, you can fact check me, this is allegedly, this is like, it feels sometimes like, they've got to, in order to keep their cash flow going, they've got to randomize those potentials so you get just enough to stay in the game, but not enough ever to get
that you're going to dominate it. Right.
And it becomes very frustrating. And I think that it's at that point of frustration that I experience as an entrepreneur, that you actually made a decision as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yep, that's exactly right. I got to the point, I mean, I dealt with that for a long time, but it took the loss that we were taking with this Pearson Cleaning and Restoration down in Houston, and all the money that we're spending on all the different companies. And then there was one day, and I'll tell you just a quick story here. There was one day, it was December during the holidays in 2018. My family and I were driving from Provo down to St. George, visiting some friends and family for the holidays. And we were up visiting from Houston. And I was driving down that long, boring stretch between Santa Quin and Cedar City. And I wasn't listening to anything. I was just thinking. And my wife was reading a book, and my kids were in the back watching movies and stuff. And I'm like, what do I do? how do I change this situation that I'm in? And I'm like, I've got to get more cleanings to subsidize all the losses I'm taking with restoration. But if I spend more money on all these marketing platforms that I'm doing right now, it's just sucking me dry and I'm not really getting much of a return off of it. And I'm like, scrap it all. What is the best advertising and marketing I've ever done? And I thought, you know what the best was when I went door to door. Like if I could just go talk to, if I had 1,000 of me that could just go out door to door and just go out and sell it all day.
Man,
I mean,
that's the holy
even
grail.
if I could have 3 of me.
Exactly.
I'm like, that would be ideal. We could
take
clean
12
up.
disciples knocking on doors.
That's right. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't have the time for that. I don't want to have to build up a team and have to pay commissions and do all that and figure that out.
And then when you train them, they go out on their own.
Yeah, that's right.
Training,
so you're continually training.
Continually training your competitor.
Yeah. And so anyway, I'm like, well, what was it about door-to-door sales? And then I started to compare it. I'm like, on the doors, why did people hire me so much more often as a percentage versus the people that were going online and clicking on my links 15 times before I'd finally get a call? And I'm like, on the doors, all I had was a clipboard and a t-shirt. And it was a t-shirt with a logo of a company, both with the cleaning company and the pest control, that nobody had ever heard of because we were small. And I'm like, yeah, those people hired me and I'd walk away with a check or credit card in hand a few minutes later. And I'm like, online, I've got 255-star ratings. We've got a great website, great discount sales, pictures, all the stuff. We pay up towards the top on Google and Yelp and all these other platforms. So we're always in the top few there. Yet those people, like it takes so many more clicks to finally get them to call us. And that's when I realized, I'm like, Peter, I'm the difference. Like me as a human being is the difference between what was going on the doors and what's happening online. And I'm like, those people were hiring me. They weren't hiring the logo or the whatever. They felt comfortable with me. And I'm like, online, all I am to people is a robot. All I am is a link. All I am is a 5-star rating or whatever it is. I'm not human to them.
I'll tell you even what we all are online. You're a point of comparison.
Yeah.
They're going to go back and forth. They're not just hitting you. They're sucking dry 3 other companies to make a determination. And it goes back to your original word. It's one syllable, trust.
Yeah. And you know, the interesting thing that we teach now is, let's say you're looking for a plumber. You go onto Google and you search for plumber and there's like all these results come up and they've all got hundreds or thousands of 5-star ratings. You decide to choose the company that has the most ratings, most reviews, whatever. And then your neighbor says, oh, you're looking for a plumber? Oh, you should use mine. His name is Joe. He's awesome.
That's the only review you need.
You're going to go with that guy every time because you trust your neighbor more than you trust Google.
Yeah, and you should.
And so,
by the way,
yeah.
Which is interesting. I had here's an interesting thing that happened. I went into a mastermind. I run masterminds. I have our own mindset marketing mastermind and incubator, but I also joined a very high profile masterminds of my friends.
Yeah.
You know, and we're all friends, so we're all in each other's. And I met this really high profile marketing dude's mastermind. And I'll mention his name. It's Frank Kern. And if you ever get to go to one of Frank's masterminds, if he ever runs them again, I highly recommend it. Frank's a stud. He's forgotten more about marketing than most of the best marketers in the world will ever learn.
Wow.
And we're sitting there and we're talking, and he's like, okay, it's like, Peter, why are you here? And we all have a reputation.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I got to be honest with you, man. I'm trying to sell my online courses. He goes, okay. And we're talking, and he's like, let me ask you a question. I said, sure. He goes, how much did you make last year? And it was somewhere in the 7 figures. And he said, how did you do it? And I said, well, we put on 4 events, and I invite people to the events, and I go through my Rolodex, and I personally invite people. I said, we try to take ads, but they don't generally show up. It's terrible. But then I get people to recommend, bring in, and I get about 100 people in an event, and probably 25 of them buy a $20,000 to $50,000 package, and we sell maybe $300,000 plus packages. And in general, we're between $250,000 and $400,000 an event.
Yeah.
I said, but sometimes we get a little more. He goes, so you made a few $1 million doing 4 events? I said, yeah, somewhere around there. he goes, do you know how hard it is to make $4 million online selling $99 courses? He's like, you have no idea. And I said, no, I don't. That's why I'm here. He's like, you don't want to do it. He said, let me ask you a question. Would you like to double your income? And I said, of course I'd like to double my income. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
He said, okay, cool. Go from 4 events to 8. Now you can go home.
And that solves your problem.
That solves your problem. He said, do 8 events a year. He said, every 6 weeks, do an event. I said, what? He said, yes, it's that simple. And I'm like, what? He said, yeah, if you're making money at events, even if it's $20,000, $30,000 and you're doing 4 events, you're making $200,000 a year.
Do it more.
8 events.
Yeah. Just do more.
Just do more.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I do that? What? And it sparked in me something. You know, we help people, and we've helped thousands and thousands of people build their online courses.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be one of those people who had also I have online courses, but I generally sell them at my events.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I can break the whole thing in time. And I'm like, oh man. So it's interesting when it comes down to what he was saying is he's like, you connect with people so quickly, so fast.
Yeah.
That's unduplicatable online.
Yeah.
And I think that's the story that you're sharing.
Yeah.
You are the key pin.
The linchpin, the cornerstone.
The cornerstone. You are the keystone.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. You're that one thing that's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And I think we're all the one thing, but we're so seduced because we spend so much time on Facebook or Instagram, and we're saying, oh, you can make millions.
Yeah.
You know, you probably, could you? Yes. I could have been Justin Bieber, but I'm not clearly Justin Bieber. I'm not clearly.
You might be closer. Let's hear it.
No, trust me. After 60 years, I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm really bad at. Now you go out and you realize you're the one. So then tell me what happens next, brother.
So I just, as I was on that drive through Utah, I asked my wife for a piece of paper and a pencil, and I just started kind of drawing out what we now call pitch cards. Back then, I thought it was like a pitch listing. It was something where everybody could deliver their pitch for just like a minute to introduce themselves, become human to people, on a shareable search platform that also had, like, each pitch listing would be like a kind of like a card that you could share and make referrals and introductions for each other. And so I got down to my brother's house that night and I said, Mark, I want to show you something. He is a business person, entrepreneur too. I said, look at these drawings. What do you think of this? Like, does this make sense? And would you as a consumer buy something like this? And he's like, I love that idea. He's like, I would totally want to get one of those listings and introduce myself and our company and what we do. I'm like, okay. And he said, and if you decide to start that, I would be interested in investing a little bit in it. And I'm like, really? Yeah. Because at that point, it was just an idea.
And this is your brother.
This is my brother.
And family is the tightest with their money, right?
They are. And
it's so tight.
Well, and I've had other ideas that weren't so great with different things. But when he said, he saw the value in it immediately. And he's like, I would be willing to put a little bit of money into that. Even though the company that I just acquired was failing miserably. And so it's not like I had a proven track record of making millions off of these deals that I'd done. Anyway, so I went back and started researching how to start up a software company. I'm not a developer. I didn't know the first thing about developing. And I started just kind of finishing out the drawings. And then I showed it to a few other friends and family members. And they're like, I would do that. And I'd be interested in putting a little bit of money in that too. And so I'm like, okay, you promise? I was making all these people promise because I'm like, if I do this, I don't have the money to do it myself.
Right. And you were going to just jump in. That's indoctrination by fire, man.
Yeah.
You're just jumping right
I'm a
into
carpet
the
cleaner.
Fire. Yeah.
Right out loud. And so,
well, you're an entrepreneur.
But I'm a really good carpet cleaner too. So, but no. And so the story goes that we figured out how to start it. And, I was able to get $50,000 to $100,000 from some different people. I talked to a development firm down in Houston and asked them if it was possible to build it. And they said, if you would have asked us a few years ago, we would say no. But now technology has advanced so much that we think that we could probably build this for you. Like, okay, how much is it going to cost? And that's when I was thinking, like, I'm like, I've paid $3,000-4,000 for a website before, so maybe 10. And I thought it was just going to be kind of a website.
Indoctrination by fire, baby.
Yeah. And then they're like, we'll get started for 30. I'm like, 30?
And the key point there is we'll get started.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got a credit card that has a $15,000 limit. Can you start with that? And they said, sure.
Yeah.
So I gave them that, and then they were able to build out the wireframes of the first iteration of it. And then I took that and I went and showed it to more friends and family. And little by little, I had people starting to pony up money and saying, we believe in this. We're small business people, and we want to be able to have our voices heard too.
Yeah, that's a key, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because what you did made sense. And here's one of the things that is interesting is you transition from being, you're a little self-deprecating there, but with you're sharing, oh, I'm just a carpet cleaner. You're not. And clearly you're an entrepreneur, and how entrepreneurs answer the call is they see an opportunity and they jump on the opportunity. So clearly you're an entrepreneur. You didn't grow up in carpet cleaning. You saw an opportunity, then you bought one, then you bought another, then you bought another, then you expanded into more home services, more like a
restoration.
Yeah. Which I wish I would have known you then, having built two of those companies from the marketing standpoint.
That would have been, I would have loved to know you back then.
It's a money pit. It's very, very difficult to outbid ServPro. Because they just have such a big.
When they have partnerships with all the insurance companies, it's really hard to compete with that.
Yeah, because they're a preferred vendor. They're on their apps. They're the first ones to get called.
Yeah.
But here's, again, partnerships are key to the things that you do, and partnerships happen face to face. They didn't. Hey, I'm looking for a partner. I'm going to put it on a Facebook ad. It just doesn't happen that way, right? Wouldn't it be great? So now you've got this wireframe, you're going around. I'm just, and I'm sharing this with my team right now. This is a killer story, guys. So we're just going to push through for 12 more minutes. And we're going to extrapolate everything we can out of you, Jeff. Is that cool?
Sure.
I love it, man. Let's do it. So let's wind up that story.
So, so anyway, I started.
So money was a barrier of entry.
Oh yeah. Cause I knew it was going to be, after the first little bit, I knew that it was going to be terribly expensive to do this, especially as we started building it. We're like, oh, actually, we need to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to build out the admin site, and we need to get an app where people can actually start using these pitch cards, and then we need to figure out how to do the three-way introductions. There was so much stuff, and it just became more and more expensive.
Before.
Yeah, we were building it from scratch.
Yeah, these technologies didn't all exist.
Yeah, there's other business cards out there. Pitch59 is not a business card. You can use it as your business card, but it's a pitch card that's a referral networking and introduction system. And we didn't have like a template. It's not like we could go to one of our competitors and say, let's just do what they did and then tweak this. We were trying to build something completely from scratch. And so we made a lot of mistakes, and then we made some improvements, and then we adapted it and refined it. And we spent a lot of money on development, and it's taken us a lot longer than it normally would for a software company. I mean, most like venture capitalists or private equity, they hear that we've been working at this for 5.5 years, and they're like, whoa, you should have been monetizing it like 1.5 or 2 years at the latest, and blah, blah, blah. And
they all have opinions, but the truth is, most of them, they're just reiterating other people's opinions. I've started 2 software companies. One did okay. But the other failed miserably because of development. When we did a learning platform, and that learning platform, we went in with like 1.6 million, thinking that was all the money in the world. And then I want to say this is maybe 16. It's maybe 2015, 2016. Another big platform came out that everybody knows. I don't have to share who it is, but this big platform raised 30 million. Another smaller platform raised 20 million. Then the big platform, which everybody in the whole world now knows, they went on to raise over $500 million. I can't compete.
Yeah.
I can't develop fast enough. I couldn't hold on to developers. They were all getting pinched because they were, they were moving towards the vortex. So doing unless you're a programmer, you're the lead programmer like a Zuck or like an Evan, or even Elon and his friends, unless you've programmed before, it's almost impossible to say like you're going to create an app. What you have to do is you have to create something that's so disruptive and cool that everybody wants it.
Yeah, you have to be first to market, or you have to be so much better than any of the competition in order to make it in that type of a space. And I mean, to date, we've raised over close to $3.5 million now, but it's all been from friends and family and customers that have pitched in their
at
the beginning,
brother.
Well, at the beginning, awesome. It was all $10,000. Like my mother-in-law at the beginning, when she saw it, she put in $5,000. She doesn't have much, but she put in $5,000 and said, "This is going to be my retirement." And I'm like, "Oh boy, no pressure here." But anyway, and then I had other friends and family that were putting in $10,000, $25,000. The largest investor in Pitch59 is actually that first brother that kind of gave me the go-ahead and said, "I'll invest some money." He's now put in a total of $251,000.
Wow.
Which he started with 10,000. And then as we've gone on, he's put in more money. And I mean, Pitch59 is what it is because of people like my brother and other family members and friends. And now customers, we've got customers that are investing. And we get told no by a lot of venture capital companies and private equity, or we haven't approached private equity, but we're too small for them. But we're going to make this go because we've got so many people on our side. And they're the little people like me that care about this problem, that care about the human side of this. Yeah. And we hope that one day we can kind of become the new LinkedIn where everybody's a real human being on a shareable, networkable card that everybody can refer and introduce to each other and create that emotional connection.
And I'm looking forward to the moment where I can utilize internally and just send out to my network, I'm looking for a videographer.
Yeah.
Does anybody know one? And then it just can go out to the network, and then they can send it out to their networks, and it can come back and say, John's friend, Rob, his brother's a killer videographer.
Yeah.
You should use him. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then because I gotta be honest, it's so frustrating being in marketing with cancel culture.
Yeah.
You can work on, this just happened to my wife. Her account got hacked. 90% of her business comes from her Facebook group that she's curated over 10 years, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Because we're so single dimensional.
Yeah.
But you're never gonna, your phone is in, the cool thing about if you have an iPhone, it's in the iCloud, right? You those contacts won't be taken away from you.
Right.
You can rebuild. I always tell everybody, if I had to have one tool to rebuild with, it's my phone.
Yeah.
It's like getting referrals, sending referrals, that going back and forth. What's been your as an entrepreneur, what's been your biggest hurdle? Like what's the thing? You're married.
Yeah.
You have how many children?
6.
6. Okay, cool. I only have 4. Clearly, I didn't grow up in Utah. I grew up in Brooklyn. So, but one of the things that as an entrepreneur, and again, I shared, I have some big wins. I had a good exit when I was 38. I did really well. But, I have some not great wins where I've lost a couple of $1 million on development and startup.
Yeah.
And it's that moment where you're sitting down, and I remember, like, I'm going to have to pivot, and I'm super leveraged.
Yeah.
And I'm laying next to my wife, and I'm like, like, Christmas is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of people right now they're out there. Christmas is going to be tough for them.
Yeah.
The holidays are going to be tough. College is going to be tough.
Yeah.
How do you get through as an entrepreneur? How do you get through those moments where you have no shortage of ideas, desires, and dreams, but you have a shortage of cash flow and resources because you're so far into it.
Yeah.
You know, your resources become less as you get further into it because you've been tapping them.
Yeah. Like I've tapped out all of my friends and family, and they've invested like all they possibly can without like sacrificing their homes. And the truth of the matter is, which you wanted me to be vulnerable, I'm going to be vulnerable here. Throughout the last 5 years, there's been times where we haven't been paid for a couple of months. We've had to be on church assistance a couple of times just to even make rent and get the groceries and that kind of thing. And when we've been waiting on investment to come in or something like that, I've got friends, or I've got several family members that have supported us personally, financially when we've needed it, that have been super helpful.
So I want to share. I want to give a shout out to Faith and to the people who always have something to say about faith. One of the things that's great is things like most communities don't have. You say church assistance, like everybody knows what that is.
Right.
The really cool thing about our community is if you are, the community converges around you to help you protect yourself. That's an incredible safety net here, and I'm so blessed to be part of that safety net. It's really, really cool, and then that's the thing that people don't know. Like, you don't know when somebody's eating ramen noodles for 6 months, and having to, you know, tell their kids, you know, we got to go to the thrift store to get you new sneakers. You know, like that's a tough for a man who's the provider, or a female.
It takes a hit on your
it's tough on your soul. It's not even an ego. I wouldn't even say it's an ego thing. It's a soul thing, because you love
it's
your
your
family.
manhood. It's like your responsibility. And when you can't provide that for your kids and wife, which I've been in the position several times that I haven't been able to. But one of the things that keeps me going, my wife and my kids and like my family are incredibly supportive of this. They actually feel like this is kind of my calling, that I need to do this. And I felt like that for the last several years. Like this is bigger than Jeff Bitton. And I'm not super money motivated, so I don't do this just for like the money. I would love to be able to provide for my family and provide stability. But I feel like the world needs this. And like the world needs this emotional connection. And if I don't do it, then who will? Just kind of Ronald Reagan's thing, where if not now, then who? Or when? If not us, then who? And I kind of feel like I've got to take the baton here and just keep running with this. And I'll die before I drop this baton, because I have to accomplish my goal and what this needs to do.
It's a calling of sorts.
It's a calling,
and what I really respect about you is that you move through it with grace and elegance. Most people don't know the entrepreneur's actual journey, because what we have to put forward is things are great. The company's going to crush. We're acquiring new people every day. Our old people are happy. We're solving problems. The dev team is incredible. The market is perfect. We have to hold the line with the stiff upper lip. And most people won't know what Jeff's gone through, or what an entrepreneur goes through, and how we have to lay down next to our wives or look in the eyes of our children, knowing that we can't give them everything they want. We can't even give them a tenth of what they deserve in that moment. But we hold on to the dream anyway. You have to be a very special person for that. It's not for everybody.
Just driven. Entrepreneurs are the type of person that would, like I always tell people, like I'm the type of person that will go and jump off a cliff and see if my parachute opens on the way down. Whereas most people like are going to check it 3 times before, make sure that the parachute is tucked in nicely, that it's folded however it needs to be folded. I'm like, no, if it needs to be done, I just need to go do it. And sometimes that bites me in the butt. Like I don't recommend that journey for most people, but some people, like one of my favorite quotes is by Conrad Hilton. And he said, "The danger with pensions and security plans is that it tempts a young man to settle in a rut named security rather than go out and find his own rainbow." And that like speaks and resonates with me, because at the end of my life, I want to look back and say, that was amazing. Like what a journey, what an adventure. I don't want to look back and say, I was comfortable my entire life. I was,
I want to go for it.
yeah, I want to just swing for the fences and see what happens.
I think overall, the key is your resolve. So
Yeah.
I think that entrepreneurs need to be two things. You need to be resourceful, you don't need resources. Your resourcefulness is going to define how far you go. And then your resolve combined with resourcefulness will take you to where you belong. It will take you to your destiny. And those are the two things you have to count on. You have to count on resolve and resourcefulness. Everything else will come. But if you have resolve, that means you're already focused. That means you're already committed. And that means when it gets hard, you will keep going. I mean, I can't share with you so many moments. The first 6 months I opened my first business, 6 months I was sleeping on a floor in a studio apartment next to my brother's bed, and I had 3 outfits, and I would hand wash them, hang them to dry, and iron them in the morning. And no one knew because I had some money. Before I opened my business, I was doing well, like many of us are, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing well, you're living well, you've got nice things, and then you take the plunge of ignorance into business, and it dissipates.
I've heard that being an entrepreneur is like going to a rodeo and watching a cowboy ride a lion. Like everybody in the stands thinks, wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. Look at how fierce and like determined he is. Well, the person on the line is thinking, oh, shoot, what did I do? And how the heck do I get off this thing without getting eaten?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's one thing from the outside perspective. It's a totally different story inside that's a lot more lonely than people ever recognize. But
one piece of advice.
Yeah. Oh, that you're going to give me?
No, that you're going to give us.
One piece of advice. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, what you were just talking about, that drive to just keep going, even when it feels like it's completely not going to work. Like you're toast, you're done, you need to hang up the cleats. That resolve to just keep going. I think most business people, especially software companies too, the reason that they fail isn't because they don't necessarily have the money or the resources or whatever. It's because either they run out of time or they run out of desire. And if you run out of desire,
big one.
Yeah, if you run out of desire, like if I lost my passion about Pitch59, I would have probably stopped a couple years ago. And I, to be honest, I lost that with cleaning, with the carpet cleaning stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't really care about it that much.
I lost it with hair.
Yeah.
When I owned the salons, we were at the top of our game, and when I lost it, it was impossible to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Man, Jeff, it's been awesome, brother.
Dude, you're great.
I'd like to. Can I get your commitment to come back on?
Let's do it.
This has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. You're just a wealth of information. Everybody, this is Bold, Brash, Outspoken. I'm Peter Anthony. I'm here with Jeff Bitton. Pitch59. Look it up in the description. Click on the link. Follow it. Track it. Get it in your phone because it's going to make all the difference in the world. He has great webinars, really diving deep. If you want to take a little less stress, more results, you really want those referrals, and you want to share referrals, and you want to get referrals. This is the community to be in. Man, we love you. We'll see you. Start marketing.